Yeah, I'll tell you the first thing. It's not that you react. We all react. The question is, how long are you going to react? That's the question. So we found out that when people react emotionally with anger, with antagonism, there's an arousal that takes place because you're turning on the sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system is a primitive system saying, Alex, whatever that is a threat to you. And if there's a threat, a good way to deal with a threat is to get aggressive. That's primitive, it's animal, it's very animal. Some people will say, oh my God, there's my ex, and instead of getting angry, they run. They flee. They're in fear. They're like, the fear is, I'm better just getting away. So their fear causes them to run. When people feel fear, when they feel anger, when they feel pain, those are the primary stimulators that switch on that sympathetic nervous system. And they used to say that it's automatic. Like, it's automatic, it happens automatically. That's part of the autonomic nervous system, and you really don't have any control of it. Turns out that's absolutely not the truth. So first thing is learning how to shorten your response to the emotional reaction. So if you have an event that happens to your life, in your life, and I say, Alex, why are you so mad today? And you say, oh, it's because of this situation and this person and this has happened this way. And I would say, oh my gosh, do you mean that that person or that circumstance is controlling the way you feel and the way you think? Now, anything that's controlling the way we feel and the way we think makes us victims, whatever that is. Now, that's okay. But if you keep that emotional reaction going on for hours or days, and I say to you, Alex, it's 5 days, what's up? And you say to me, I'm upset from something that happened to me 5 days ago, I'd say you have a mood. You're in a mood. Now, some people keep that same emotional reaction going on for weeks or months. And then I would say, well, Alex has a angry temperament. It becomes a temperament. If we keep it going for, now this is true, people keep this going for years on end. If it goes on for years, now it's a personality trait. So here's the weird part about it. You ask that person who's been angry for years why they're angry, and they'll recall an event from 10 years ago, or a series of events from 10 years ago. And the
childhood.
And the research on the memory says that 50% of that story isn't even the truth. They can't even remember the truth. They embellish the story and make it sound worse than it really was to excuse themselves from changing. Now, what we tell people is forget the event. It doesn't matter. The details of the event doesn't. What matters is learning how to overcome the emotion. So when you're sitting in a meditation and all of a sudden out of nowhere your body starts getting aroused and it starts getting frustrated and it starts getting angry, and people say, I'm doing my meditation wrong. You know what I say to them? No. You're doing it right, because that has to come up. So when the anger and the frustration comes up and a person's in a meditation, they have one of two choices: to quit, which is what they've always done. But if you're sitting with 1,500 people and no one else is quitting, you're not going to quit. And if I teach you how to lower the volume to that emotion, and I teach you a way to change that, every time you settle the body back down into the present moment and lower the volume to that anger, that's a victory, because you're telling the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. Now, it'll go, well, what about this circumstance, and what about that? And it'll get aroused again. And then you notice it, and instead of turning on the TV or getting on your cell phone or getting on the social media, you lower the volume again. Now, this is the work. It turns out every time you do that victory, you're telling the body that it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind, and then all of a sudden it wants to get up and go. It's busy, it's got things to do, and and you become aware that it wants to do that, and you bring it back to the present moment, you're executing a will that's greater than the program. Now, it turns out if you do this enough times, sooner or later the body surrenders. Sooner or later the body acquiesces. It says, I'm no longer the mind, Alex is the mind. And when that occurs, there's a liberation of energy. That anger, that frustration, literally turns into energy. It's released into the field as information. Now, you return back into your life and you see the same person or the same circumstance, your response to them is going to be much less. Why? Because you took care of it within you. Well, you're not trying to fix it out there, it's just that your response is different. So now, if you're no longer responding to the environment and your response to the environment isn't weakening the organism because stress depletes energy, then you're less susceptible to the environment. And we found out that when people do this, their immune system gets so robust that you can take viruses like SARS-CoV-2 virus and subject that virus to the plasma of advanced meditators, and there's a resistance to the virus. The virus doesn't enter the cell. Why? Because there's energy to be able to combat it. So it's because the person is not reacting. So then shortening your response to that condition is a victory, and it takes practice. And so then how many times do we have to forget and go unconscious and be angry till we decide to no longer forget and keep remembering and stay conscious? That's the change right there. So we use meditation as a model to remind ourselves who we're going to be when we open our eyes, and to remind ourselves who we're no longer going to be when we open our eyes, and stay so conscious of it that we don't go unconscious in our waking day. And if we do it properly, then there's feedback in our life that shows us that you've changed. And remember, nothing changes in your life until you change. And when you change your energy, you change your life. That's the way it is. So teaching people how to change their energy every day, and then be a scientist like, okay, I changed my energy. Now, I'm not talking about parking spaces appearing. I'm talking about, here comes the dream, here comes the job opportunity, here comes the mystical experience, here comes the healing, here comes the change. Nobody is so special to be excluded from this process. I've seen all skin colors, all races, all cultures, all ages. We have elders in our work that their brains on the brain scan are outstanding. We have kids that are 8, 9 years old that know how to move energy into their brain. We have people that are sick, that are really, really unhealthy, that turn around serious health conditions. You could be in shape, out of shape. You could eat gluten, not eat gluten. You could eat meat, not eat meat. It doesn't matter. You can be anybody you want to be. Just learn the formula, and then practice it so that you see the outcomes in your life. That's when it gets exciting.